Let's try to answer one simple question. Some artists do all the things below, but which one of the following is the artist almost always required to do by contract? Write songs on the CD, produce the record, mix the record, perform on the record, or appear in the debut video? I bet a lot of you said D, perform on the record, but in fact, E is the correct answer. How is this so? Let's take a look. First, let's examine the question itself. What are they required to do by contract? Write songs on the CD? Well, up until the 1960s, artists almost never wrote the songs on their record. Publishing companies worked with labels to match songs with artists. From about 1967 to 1979, the number rose to where about 75% of pop artists were also their own songwriters. But this is not because labels had some revelation that it would be great if the songwriter was also the artist. It's because the fees that record companies had to pay songwriters went staggeringly high. And so record companies decided, rather than pay these fees, they'd get songwriters to sign over their rights in exchange for the opportunity to be an artist. Few songwriters said no. Today, it's leveled off at about 50%. Produce the record? Well, what is a producer? Most of us know a producer is someone who sometimes arranges the music, does the engineering, makes suggestions, but essentially, the producer is only responsible for the quality of the recording given the budget. Prior to the 1970s, this almost never happened because record companies didn't trust artists with big budgets. There were some exceptions, however. Today, it's leveled off at about 50%. Mix the record? In smaller indie projects, artists do generally mix their own record. In larger ones, record companies hire mixers to do special mixes for the radio. Perform on the record? The answer that I'm guessing most of you chose? Who remembers these guys? Didn't they win a Grammy? Well, how can that happen? Sometimes artists are signed for all kinds of reasons that have nothing to do with the quality of their singing voice. In fact, sometimes they sing pretty poorly. This is where the producer comes in. Of course, if he realizes the artist can't sing, he knows he now has a challenge on his hands. Here's what he does. He hires a professional singer, someone who he's worked with many times, and this singer will lay down what's called a guide vocal. The guide vocal will be given to the artist on a separate CD, and the producer will say to the artist, I want you to go home and learn this note for note, phrase for phrase, without improvising. The artist will do this, and they'll lay the track down exactly the way it is on the guide vocal. Then the producer hires background singers, and they'll layer in harmonies, one after the next, after the next, after the next. When it comes time to mix the record, he'll bring in the harmonies, and maybe he'll even bring in the guide vocal too. Sometimes he'll double or triple it, and this will layer underneath the lead singer of the artist. Of course, sometimes, if the artist really isn't that good, the clash will be noticeable, and so we'll have to change the proportions a little bit. Sometimes, quite a little bit. And this is why record companies don't require artists to sing in the contract. Appear in the debut video? Artists almost always appear on the album jacket prior to the 1970s, with some exceptions. Contracts do require the artist to participate in promotion. When video became the key form of advertising, artists had to appear in them. So let's look at what the recording contract is from the point of view of the artist. By contract, the artist is required to do the following: deliver a finished recording of master quality, and make themselves available for promotion of the record and to be the focal point upon which the label will look to market the music. Nowhere in a major label recording contract is an artist generally required to write songs or sing or perform in any way on the recording.